at least people who happen to be born in Tamil Nadu should not spend their life without ever being in touch with this energy. This must happen at least for the 62 million people. This is a mountain of a temple. If you have to create that kind of energy, what it takes is not simple. It's not simple at all. It will be phenomenal work. So monumental, it's almost humanly impossible kind of work. But it's all done and kept ready, just in a natural form. It is like the matted hair of Adiyogi. If he does this, whole cataloging gets disturbed. It takes a certain amount of education to go through the library successfully. Yes, otherwise you'll go stare at all the books. There are all kinds of stuff which are irrelevant to you. So, in that sense, Dhyanalinga is an effective library. Adiyogi himself was in a state of distress, or maybe distress is not the word. When he was in a certain state of acrimony with himself, when he could not fulfill the promise that he kind of made to a devotee, because he got deceived by some other forces. He was disappointed and angry with himself, in a certain state of despondent. In that state, he came and sat here. Probably most of you know the story about why he became like this. So to put it very simply, a South Indian woman, South, the very tip of the subcontinent, which is today, for a long time it's been known as Nagarkoil, which means the serpent temple. Today the very tip is known as the Kanyakumari, where the three oceans meet and merge. So really down south, a woman devotee expressed her love for him and said, she set a date for him. No, she was not having a date with him, she set a date for him. That by this day's sunrise, if you do not appear and marry me, I will shed my body. So, when he looked at her, when he looked south and saw the intensity with which she was saying this, he knew that this is for good, this is for real. That she's actually going to leave her body if he does not make it. So he started his journey from the upper regions of Himalayas down south. So, he's just trying to meet the deadline, but there are any number of people who don't want him to marry a South Indian woman. So, they put various types of obstacles in his way, but he ignored all that and he came on. When he came very close to this place, when he was just 22 kilometers away, what they did was, they put up a huge heap of camphor and lit it far away. In the early morning mist, When there is mist, every particle of water in the air acts like a magnifying glass, and it just blew up in such a big way that it actually looked like a sunrise. Then they told him, sun has come up, she would have left her body anyway, what are you going there for? He was just 22 kilometers away from that place. Then he saw the whole place being lit up by the sunrise, which was actually a camphor hill that they lit. He felt totally dejected with himself that he couldn't make it in time, and he turned back. So that place today is known as the Suchindran. And he walked up this way, went up this mountain and sat there, despondent, angry, in a state of self-acrimony. He did not sit there blissfully. He sat there very intense, angry, not with someone else, for his own failure. So because he sat here in that condition, which is rare, the place acquired a completely different kind of intensity, a completely different kind of quality about itself, and it bred a whole series of yogis who went to do sadhana there because Shiva himself sat there, and they acquired this quality. They walked with the same rage and intensity, not rage about anybody, simply angry, not about anything. So, a whole series of yogis came from that. If you've seen the pictures of Sadhguru Sri Brahma, he looks like that. That Veerappan would look like a kindergarten child. Veerappan would really look innocent and baby-faced. That's how fierce he looks, for no reason. He simply walked in anger all the time, not about anybody. Extremely compassionate, but just angry. So this was not the first one, the whole series of them like this, because they got their push from the energy at the peak of this mountain. And they acquired this. For them, for this series of yogis who came, for them, the only transmission that they would trust is that of the Adiyogi. They are not the kind to trust anything else. They are not the kind to trust any other human being on the planet. Only if it comes from him, it's real for them, otherwise it's not. So they grew in this, because here Adiyogi sat in a certain state of fierceness, despondence, and a kind of acrimonious condition within himself. The very peak acquired that quality, divine, but in a different way. They became that kind. You don't know how much it's taken to culture this one, to civilize this one, to make it look… I know I still don't look civilized, but I'm at least… if you don't see my face, I'm sounding civilized, haven't I? So, the energy, the intensity of what this mountain can transmit, what this peak can do to people is too phenomenal. If we have to generate this kind of energy, enormous amount of work has to be done, enormous. Here it's ready, sitting there. All you have to do is just look up and say Shiva. All you have to do is look up and be receptive to it, that's all. When such a energy basis is available, this is the kind of energy which can be a base for a whole spiritual revolution which can go through the country or through the world. This is not an exhaustible kind, it's an inexhaustible kind. It's not something that'll run out. It's something, the more you draw, the more forceful it becomes. We would like this to happen to the whole world, but I'm thinking right now, I'm getting old, so I'm thinking more modest these days. I'm thinking at least people who happen to be born in Tamil Nadu should not spend their life without ever being in touch with this energy. This must happen at least for the 62 million people. We don't want to leave out the country, but I feel if it happens to whole of Tamil Nadu, Tamil people are very effervescent people. I'm sure they will make sure the rest of the country shakes with that energy too, if all of them get it. For me personally, the mountain is of great significance because my Guru chose to leave his body there too. And I've still not dared to step into that space. I know where it is, but I still don't have the temerity to step upon his grave, so I'm staying away from it for now. So, this is a mountain of a temple. If you have to create that kind of energy, what it takes is not simple. It's not simple at all. It will be phenomenal work. So monumental, it's almost humanly impossible kind of work. But it's all done and kept ready, just in a natural form. If we don't make use of this would be very foolish, especially for the local population. It would be extremely stupid not to make use of this energy, because this can transform everything that human being is. And we can breed more angry yogis who are wonderful beings, but who don't have to pretend to be kind and gentle and compassionate. They're simply the way they are. They're just like the wild. They're like a tiger in the forest or a tusker that tramples through everything, but whatever he does is still useful. Before consecration, I was a one-point mission. Because I was a one-point agenda, my whole life, my mind, my body, my energies, my capabilities, everything was just one-point agenda. I worked in compartments with the outside world. People only saw a fringe aspect of me and did not let them see anything of me till they came to the 90 days of being with me. That is when I slowly opened up a few aspects which are very shocking for them. This nice young man who came from Karnataka like Kaveri, like the coolness of Kaveri river, suddenly is blazing like this and talking about building this, building that, was quite shocking for many of them. Because till then, I had not uttered the word Dhyanalinga, even to people who are immediately around me. Because I kept that a separate compartment. I was in a goodwill mission, just doing that. 18 years. Not saying a word to just about anybody. But not one breath in those 18 years happened without the purpose of Dhyanalinga behind it. Trying to garner all kinds of forces, social, worldly, natural, otherworldly, all kinds of forces, to assimilate all of them so that this could be accomplished. I was living many lives within myself and outside myself. Because people saw me at different times and they almost would think this is a different man altogether. What I ate, where I went, what I did, what I wear, everything was completely wiped out of my life. There was only one thing. It was like constantly living on a peak. You know, when I was initially teaching, I'm not dressed in any way because my clothing just changed as people gave. I just wore my faded denims and a t-shirt. And there are no microphones or anything at that time, so I walk up and down furiously like a caged tiger, and I teach what you today see as the basic program. It was not in this format, but I walk up and down, pulling up everybody, and this is how I taught. Because I was burning on a fire of a time limit and a mission which could not be done for 3 lifetimes, determined to see that it happens. A whole lot of things I have assimilated, moving them all in one direction, all kinds of forces, manipulating everything to a point as to even where people should be born, whom they should be born. Just imagine, what horrible manipulation of life, that those people thought they got married because their horoscopes came together or they fell in love. But all these things I'm fixing, they thought this child is born, it's God-given, all those things I'm fixing for them. Horrible levels of manipulation and all levels, which left me so intense, so focused and so fiery. People hung around me not because they liked me, because they had no choice. They were just sucked into the whole energy vortex that happened wherever I walked. I was not dressed like a spiritual teacher, I did not behave like one, but what I was doing as a full-time activity was just a minor part of my life. My secret life was elsewhere. So after this was done, I thought I will make my life more like an open book, and it is today. Just about everybody knows what I eat, where I go, where I come. So, this change is a change from intense focus to a relaxed pace of life. Oh, Sadhguru, you say this is a relaxed pace of life. Yes. People are thinking this is too intense. It's a shift from existing on a peak intensity to a very relaxed pace of life. So you can imagine, if this is my idea of relaxed pace of life, intense life, how it was.
Namaskaram, Sadhguru. You said in the past that Kailash is a spiritual library where many great beings have left their knowings. Is it something similar possible in Dhyanalinga?
As you know, the Velangiri peak is known as Kailash of the south because it has similar qualities, but not of the same magnitude. Does magnitude matter? Matters as an impression, doesn't matter for knowing actually. Because suppose you go to your school or let's say your college library, which has maybe 500,000 books. You go to another public library which has 10 million books. Whether you go to 500,000 or to 10 million, you are only probably going to read 10, 50 or maximum 100 books. You are not going to read 500,000 books or 10 million books. So, it is only the quality of selection. And if you go to a library with 10 million books, unless there is a very good librarian there, you can't find anything that you want for nuts. Yes, you cannot, unless it's well catalogued. It is not catalogued like that, it's like the matted hair. That's how it is described and that's how it is. It is like the matted hair of Adiyogi. If he does this, whole cataloging gets disturbed. So you will have to find it. Not that you cannot, but it takes a certain amount of… it takes a certain amount of education to go through the library successfully. Yes, otherwise you'll go stare at all the books. There are all kinds of stuff which are irrelevant to you. So, in that sense, Dhyanalinga is an effective library. We don't have as many books as they have, but we have what is needed, easy to pick because it's more organized, catalogued. It's just that you have to spend enough time to see. When I say to see, I mean to say, first seeing, then figuring out what is the alphabet, then the word, then the sentence, then trying to understand what does it say. This is the nature of learning anything to be read. So first you must be able to see, then you must be able to identify the alphabet, the word, the sentence and further. Does it take time? Some time, but not necessarily enormous amount of time. It just takes intensity. One moment, if you can be absolutely there, not concerned about the collage that you have built and who you are and what you are and your safety, your well-being and nonsense. If you can just keep down your sense of self-preservation, the instinct of self-preservation, you can just lay it out. This is why when you're entering Dhyanalinga, there is a yogi on the floor to indicate this is where you must leave yourself and go. You must leave your body, your mind, your ideas, your opinions, your nonsense, everything right there and go, simply sit. And where is it written? It's not written anywhere. But everything is possible through that. In volume, in magnitude, it is not Kailash, but Kailash is a heap of stuff. Kailash is like a library with 100 million books, but no racks, just in one heap. You will have to burrow through that. It's an enormous process. Even great sages like Rishabh Maharishi went and lost himself. He never came back. Because if you see 100 million or 1,000,000,000,000 books in one big heap, the book that you want to find, if you burrow into it, you're not going to come out. That's what happened, not just to him, to many other sages and saints this happened. I was thinking of camping there for 3 months with a few people and trying to explore. Then as I had a closer look, I knew that if I go there, that's the end of it. So, I'm okay here. So Dhyanalinga is definitely that kind of possibility, but more succinct, to the point, enough for, I would say, any human being, unless Adiyogi himself comes, then he will say, ah, nice toy you have created. Anybody else will look up to it as the greatest peak. Anybody else, only he can look down upon it, but it's okay.